I am Dr. Danny Kaczorski. I am a high school English teacher at Brophy College Preparatory, and a researcher of all things visual and multimodal. My major areas of interest include comics, graphic novels, and picture books.
And I'm Taylor Kessner. I'm an assistant professor at the University of Texas at Arlington, and I study non-traditional places where we learn history, such as video games and graphic novels. And we are here today to chat with you a little bit about our chapter, Historical Thinking and Reasoning in a Graphic Novel, Opportunities for Practice in the Harlem Hellfighters.
So we were asked to tell you just a little bit about what inspired us to do this chapter, to do this work. I would say for me, other than selfishly like wanting to work with Taylor on a project, because we hadn't actually had an opportunity to do so at that point. The Harlem Hellfighters graphic novel has always been one that I'm a big fan of. And it is historical fiction, kind of like some of the characters like a hodgepodge of real historical figures, but it's very authentic. It's very real world. It aligns very clearly with the time period and shows a lot of the history there, but it does it in a very powerful and impactful way through the visual images. And in fact, I feel like the imagery carries a lot more of the weight of the story than the narrative, which I think can be leveraged really well in many different classroom contexts, but we haven't seen a lot of this work in the social studies classroom, which is where I think Taylor comes in.
Yeah, so like Danny said, I mean, first and foremost, the thing that brought me to this project was Danny gave me a call, and I really wanted to work with Danny. But beyond that, I'm always fascinated to see, these kind of new media kind of places where kids and adults can learn history. Specifically places that are not necessarily in brick and mortar classrooms. And when Danny suggested that we, explore Harlem Hellfighters, I went straight to the bookstore and I got a copy and absolutely fell in love with it. And I think sent her a slew of texts immediately, just saying there is so much interesting stuff going on here, and this is the absolute perfect thing for us to do. And I think that that's really what set us down, looking at something called historical thinking and reasoning, looking at opportunities that not just the content of the graphic novel, but like Danny said, this space where these semiotics, these multimodal representations are doing so much of the work. Those create so many very different, and as far as I understand it, very novel opportunities to think like historians. And that was really interesting to us.
Yeah, and kind of building on that too, I think one of the things that I hear a lot from classroom teachers, and having been a classroom teacher and being a classroom teacher again myself, is there is sort of a I don't know, like an idea that we're going to just put these things in front of kids and suddenly they're going to get it. And that, comics are sort of this like magic bullet that's suddenly going to make them interested. And in some cases that might be true. But the thing that I find is most necessary for a teacher who's going to take a graphic novel and bring it into the classroom is having some sort of framework or some sort of approach for how to have both them and the students engage with that. You can't just throw it out there and hope that it's going to work. And so this piece, I believe, gives you a really strong foundation and a really strong lens for how to go about doing this work with kids. So that you aren't just like reading it and hoping that somehow magically the comic is going to make historical thinking and reasoning happen. So it's a great, I think, mentor text. This can be done with a lot of other different historical fiction comics and graphic novels, or nonfiction ones as well. And it gives you the tools to go and take this, like I think, immediately into your classroom and give it a try. All right. Thank you, everyone. We hope you read our chapter.
Thanks so much.
Hello, I am Fran Falk-Ross. This is Roberta Linder, and we have written a chapter in the textbook by the IGI textbook, Exploring Comics and Graphic Novels in the Classroom. Okay, all of the articles in the textbook focus on the resurgence of interest in comics and graphic novels and their innovative use in the classrooms. Okay, considering specifically all the increased diversity in the schools these days, and in the student population. And they have shown a lot of benefits of multimodal format for teaching and learning. So we want to provide you with some more information to heighten your interest in the textbook and in our specific chapter, which is pre-service teachers. They're pre-service teachers' critical analysis of features and messages in graphic novels. And Roberta will tell you more about that.
Okay, thanks, Fran. As Fran said, this particular chapter has to do with both pre-service teachers and any practicing teachers that were still in Fran's class. There were 19 pre-service teachers and practicing teachers in a middle school class course. And to begin with, they were given a graphic organizer to help them critically analyze award-winning novels that would be appropriate for middle school students. They did it without any instruction, and we analyzed their answers. Following that, Fran provided instruction on how to use the graphic organizer and critically and deeply analyze their selected award-winning novels. Then, to follow up with that and to use the graphic organizer a third time, the students were asked to select a graphic novel and analyze it using the same graphic organizer. And what we learned from that and all of their analyses was that they did show improvement after Fran's examples and after her instruction with the traditional texts, and that did help them somewhat with their analysis of the graphic novels. But one thing that we noted was that a weakness in their analysis of the graphic novels was that they didn't look as deeply as they could have at both the text and the graphics in the graphic novels. It seemed that they were missing some messages there. So the next step, Fran had her students create graphic narratives for middle school students that would help these students look at a problem, an issue that a middle school student might have, and provide solutions. How could a middle school student solve this problem? And what we found out from that, from their graphic narratives and from their reflective questions, as they finished all of these things with graphic novels, we found that we increased their awareness of graphic novels. Many of them had not read graphic novels, and many of them showed surprise at how much they enjoyed reading the graphic novels, and they were surprised at the range of topics in graphic novels. Secondly, we found out that they learned that they could enhance their teaching and their students' learning through the use of graphic novels in the classrooms. That was a new awareness for them as well. And then finally, the pre-service teachers and practicing teachers noted that using the graphic organizer that we provided with the questions and the prompts enabled them to critique things more closely than they had done before. So we feel that it was very beneficial to Fran's students. And from this, we developed some suggestions for both teacher educators and for classroom teachers. And we think that, these would be beneficial for you if you read them. Plus, there are many, many titles of graphic novels included throughout our chapter.
And we feel this is important for teacher preparation, so we encourage you to read that. Each chapter in the textbook highlights topics of importance in today's classrooms using graphic novels and comics. And we encourage you to read this and to adopt this text for your own professional development and for your classrooms.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.